MMA Fighting presents Timeline, Cormier vs. Miocic 2.
September 25th, 2009, Strikeforce Challengers 3, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Daniel Cormier, at the age of 30, makes his professional debut live on Showtime against Gary Frazier. Cormier would go on to win by second round TKO. June 18th, 2011, Strikeforce, Overeem vs. Verdum, Dallas, Texas. Now, 7-0 with 6 finishes, Cormier faces longtime veteran Jeff Monson as a reserve in the Strikeforce heavyweight tournament.
This is your 8th pro fight, and obviously he's fought 24 times since he last fought in the UFC. The guy is very active. Did you think that by the time you got to your 7th pro fight, that you'd be fighting veterans like this? Is this the pace that you wanted to go at?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I actually figured around this time, my path has been very similar to Cain's. You know, we fought the same level of competition going forward. Obviously, he's in the UFC, so he's fought a little higher caliber guys, but we're doing the same thing. We've gotten the opportunity because of the commitment that the organizations have made to us to actually build inside the organization. So Cain wasn't rushed. You know, he fought some fights leading up to before he fought Czech Congo, and I wasn't rushed. You know, I fought fights that were good fights for me until I got to Jeff Monson. So I think at this point, I figured I'd be starting to try and make my mark in the sport. It's less than 2 years still, you know.
Cormier wins by decision.
Very dominant performance by you, Daniel, and it seems as though you're happy with it, right?
Very happy. My coaches told me I executed the game plan to perfection. Standing, movement, not going to the ground with him and giving him any advantages. And if my coaches are happy with it, I'm happy with it.
Interesting for an Olympic wrestler to want no business going to the ground with this guy. You just didn't want it. Why? Well, why did you not even want to try to dominate him there?
You know, it's not a pissing contest. You know what I'm saying? So why give him any chance? We thought that I had the advantage in the stand-up. Like I said, I've trained with some of the best fighters in the world on a daily basis. So I think I've grown, and my abilities have grown. So I'm willing to fight anywhere.
September 10th, 2011. Strikeforce, Barnett vs. Hartonov. After an injury forces Overeem out of the heavyweight tournament, DC steps in to face his toughest competition by far, Antonio Bigfoot Silva, who had just recently defeated Fedor.
In reality, you know, that could be a detriment. You know, he's so big that he's actually kind of slow. You know, so I think I'll be able to move around him pretty good, set up angles, and I'll be able to take him down. You know, I've got a higher wrestling pedigree than he does, and I think I'll be able to use it to take him down. And Bigfoot Silva will, if he gets on top of you, he beats the out of you. Like, he literally takes his hands together, he puts them together like a big old club, and he starts throwing 2 hands down on your face. He grabs you by the neck, and he just literally tries to beat you through the bottom of the canvas. But there's no chance. You know, I'm not going on the bottom. You know, there's just no way for him to actually take me down. So that's going to present problems for him.
Daniel Cormier wins by devastating KO.
And I thought it was going to be a long, drawn-out battle, because that's how you make yourself train. You know, if you train for a knockout or a submission, you kind of cheat yourself in the gym. So we train for a long 3-round war, and that's why I was telling people I'd find one in the decision, because I've trained hard enough to go 15 minutes in a tough fight. But when you train that hard and something like this happens, it's just icing on the cake, you know.
Your striking looks so impressive. You were very calm, and you were also very patient. Even when you rocked him and you knocked him down, you didn't get too excited. You actually told him to get up, which was weird for a wrestler like yourself to tell a guy like him to get up. Why did you feel the need to be so patient and not try to go for the kill so early?
You know, a lot of guys that are relatively inexperienced like me, they rush, and then they get tired, and then they find themselves in bad situations. So my deal was, I'm listening to my coaches all the time. You know, I can hear Bob when I'm fighting the whole time, and he's like, get him up, don't go into his guard. Because when guys are really good at jiu-jitsu, you jump in that guard, it's kind of hard to get big shots off on him, so it's hard to finish him. So he's like, get him up. And then after I hit him with another left hook, and he kind of rocked again, so I was like, well, he's still hurt. And I can hear him yelling, he's still hurt. So it was just a thing that I listened to my coaches, man. I'm actually, honestly, I don't know what's going on out there. Like, I really don't. Like, I'm just really listening to my coaches all the time. What they're yelling, I'm listening to.
October 8th, 2011. UFC 136, Edgar vs. Maynard 3, Houston, Texas. Stipe Miocic debuts in the UFC against Joey Beltran. Miocic wins by unanimous decision. May 19th, 2012. Strikeforce, Barnett vs. Cormier, San Jose, California. Daniel Cormier is set to face Josh, the War Master Barnett, in the finals of the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix.
Do you feel like an underdog in the fight?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, Josh was a UFC champion. He's done a ton of things. He's beaten a lot of guys. I mean, Scott just listed him, and I really had no idea. I didn't know he beat that many guys, but I've beaten quite a few of those guys too, and I probably could do pretty well against a lot of the other ones. So I take it in stride. I should be the underdog because of his experience and his accomplishments, but I'll be ready to go.
Cormier dominates Barnett in a 25-minute battle.
You know, for all the negative things that have happened in my life and me getting knocked down and having to get back up, I think it all prepared me for this, made me a stronger person. And just, you know, everything's kind of turning around. Not only is my career going well, but I've got 2 young kids, I've got a great girlfriend, and my family life is perfect. My mom and them are here. I mean, it's just everything is on the up and up right now. I mean, all the negative, you know, losing my daughter, my dad getting killed, and you know, it goes on and on. You know, my teammate dying in a plane crash, or my roommate. All that stuff just prepared me, you know, for the good times. Because no matter how bad things get, eventually, you know, the sun is gonna shine, and if you just keep trying to live life the right way and try to just like pursue your dreams and goals, eventually it'll turn around and good things happen to decent people. I'm not saying I'm a good person or anything, but for a person that stays set on his goals, good things seem to happen. So we've all had our trials. So, I mean, everybody deals with adversity. It's just how you bounce back from it.
After a quick knockout of the night performance in Nebraska over Philip DeFries, Miocic returns to face heavyweight prospect Shane Del Rosario.
And they offered you Shane Del Rosario. He's making his UFC debut coming over from Strikeforce. How much did you know about him when you got the call?
Oh, I knew he was. You know, I knew he's a good fighter in Strikeforce, great fighter in Strikeforce. And, you know, when I got the phone call, and, you know, didn't hesitate and took that fight.
I asked him on Monday if he knew you, what his reaction was when he got the call. He said he didn't know you. He had to Google you to find out about you. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a little guy, you know, working my way up.
So it doesn't surprise you?
Oh no, I was giving a couple more. You know, I'm not worried about big names. Keep fighting, keep getting better, and keep winning.
Miocic wins a TKO in the second round.
You're such a humble fighter. You're such a humble guy. How do you remain humble now? You're an undefeated UFC heavyweight. You've won 3-0 inside the Octagon.
You know, I have good coaches, you know, good teammates, good friends and family. You know, I just have good people around me.
September 29, 2012. UFC on Fuel TV 5, Struve vs. Miocic, Nottingham, England. After a 3-0 start in the UFC, Miocic is booked in his first main event against Stefan Struve. Miocic goes on to lose by second-round TKO, but takes home Fight of the Night honors. June 15, 2013, UFC 161, Evans vs. Henderson, Winnipeg, Canada. Miocic makes his return to the cage as the co-main event against Roy Nelson.
You're coming off a loss, first loss of your career. How does that change, you know, the way fight week feels for you, your mindset, you know, how you approach this fight?
I think I approach every fight the same. You know, you're gonna win. You know, of course, last fight didn't go the way I wanted it to, but you know, that's why I'm here and that's why I took the fight.
You know, I don't know if you know about this, but there's some kind of behind-the-scenes drama with Roy Nelson going into this fight. Last fight on his UFC contract, if he wins, he obviously has a lot of momentum going into free agency. If he loses, all that momentum is gone. Do you like being that kind of spoiler? Do you like ruining those plans for him?
I'm just worried about myself. That's all. You know.
Did you even know about that situation?
No.
You know, him and Dana White have had their issues.
A little bit about it, yeah, but I mean,
be kind of the hitman, take him out.
No, I'm not worried about myself here. I got to win that weekend of the fight on Saturday, so.
Miocic defeats Nelson in a dominant unanimous decision.
Was there any point in the fight where you thought maybe, you know, you're in trouble, you got to regroup, or did you feel like you were in control the entire 15 minutes?
I felt like I was in control, you know. I was against the cage, I clinched him, he couldn't move me. So.
Third round, Did you just want to get the win at that point? Because you were hearing some boos. Did that bother you?
No, I knew he was going to go for kill. You know, he was going to try to take my head off. You know, I was up 2 rounds and none. What would you do? I would sit there and play it smart, you know. I was still trying to hit him. I think I fucking rocked him a couple times in that 3rd round. But whatever. You know, I got the win. That's all I care about, you know.
Biggest athletic achievement of your career tonight?
Oh, yeah, of course, man.
You've had some big ones, but this is big.
Come on, man. Co-main event. Winnipeg first time. Let's go. This is awesome. Don't get better than this.
Miocic goes on to win his next 2 bouts in the UFC in Chicago for UFC on Fox 10, Henderson versus Thompson, against Gabriel Gonzaga by unanimous decision. And in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Miocic knocks out Fabio Maldonado in the main event at Tough Brazil. April 2013, UFC on Fox 7, Henderson versus Melendez, San Jose, California. Daniel Cormier's first match in the UFC is against former UFC heavyweight champion Frank Mir.
It's not, I don't mind trash talk, whatever, but it's like, it's kind of that the way he does it. It's really like kind of condescending, you know, like he kind of looks down on you. It's like, I don't quite understand that. You know, I don't understand, you know,
Feels as though he's smug.
Very smug. I mean, he's very smug. I mean, you know that from I knew that before I even started fighting. You know, you could watch him versus Brock Lesnar, you know, and you could tell that he was actually one of those guys. But again, as I've said, it won't matter. You know, I can go out there on Saturday and take him out, and on his next fight, he's going to be doing the same thing to the next guy. So that's just him. But, you know, I intend on going out there, taking him out. And, you know, he's like the guy in high school, you know, it's like, oh man, here comes Frank, right?
Cormier grinds his way to a dominant decision victory. He remains undefeated.
You know what, man? I've had a very long athletic career, and I've competed at the highest levels of all my sports. And, you know, I always kind of laughed at Dana when he said, you know, there's jitters and there's nerves that come along with this. And I was like, you know, my career has prepared me for this. There's no chance that but man, I was nervous today. Like, I felt so nervous. It's like, it's almost like you want it so bad and you want to do so well. And then it's like, you just kind of, you know, you know, kind of lay an egg a little bit. And I didn't fight the fight I wanted to. I mean, you know, I didn't fight the fight I wanted to. And you know what, more than anything, I felt tired, and I've never gotten tired. I usually am in a fight and I feel great and I can go long, you know, and in this fight, for some reason, I was very tired, and I think it was my nerves. I was very nervous in the back. I felt like my legs were kind of weird, but, you know, I went in there and I fought, and I fought as well as I could. Wasn't ideal, but, you know, if you can feel bad and beat a guy that's 2-time champion across the board, you know, there's got to be some positive in that.
February 22nd, 2014, UFC 170, Rousey versus McMahon, Las Vegas, Nevada. Daniel Cormier makes his light heavyweight debut against late replacement Patrick Cummins as the co-main event.
Yeah. What about when they came up with the name Patrick Cummins? I mean, was there any hesitance? Because in a lot of ways, man, this seems kind of like a no-win situation for you.
Yeah, no hesitancy for me, man. I'm a competitor. I want to compete. If there's an opportunity to compete at something, I'm there. Just tell me when. You know, you want to play some Madden? You want to play NCAA football? Tell me where, and I'll go meet you there. And I'll tell you one thing, I'll beat you, and I'll be cheating to beat you too, because I'm trying to win. So I'm a competitor, man. You know, any opportunity I get to compete. Plus, you know, I wrestled my entire life. You know, you don't know who you're wrestling in the next round. So for me, it's an opportunity to compete. That's what I'm here to do.
DC easily wins by TKO against the overmatched and inexperienced Cummins in the first.
Well, it's like every time I fight now in the Octagon, I feel more comfortable, and I'm actually scaring myself, because I went from being very nervous against Mir to, like, now there's no nerves whatsoever. Against Nelson, against Cummins, there's really no nerves. The thing I took from the fight more than anything was that my power actually carries me a lot further than it did in heavyweight, because the same uppercut I hurt Patrick with the very first time, I landed against Frank Mir maybe 15 times. I did it to Roy Nelson. I did it against Josh Barnett, and those guys kind of just ate him. And it visibly affected him tonight. So more than anything he did, I think my power is going to carry me a lot further in this division, because I'm not as small compared to the guys that I'm fighting.
May 24th, 2014. UFC 173, Barao versus Dillashaw, Las Vegas, Nevada. Cormier makes a quick turnaround, this time against veteran Dan Henderson.
Yeah, I believe I'm going to be the champion. You know, I believe with every fiber of my being that I'm going to be the champion. It's what I'm supposed to be the champion. I believe it. Do I believe I'm going to walk through these guys? No. Do I believe that I can beat every one of them? Yes. You know, I mean, they're tough guys, but I can beat Alexander Gustafson. I can beat John Jones. I'm going to beat Dan Henderson. That's just what I'm supposed to do.
DC handily defeats Henderson by submission in round 3.
You know, a lot of people, of course, are saying, well, Hendo was not nearly as big as you in size. Was a big difference in the fight. You said in the cage you thought you could do that to John Jones. Why do you believe you could, and do you feel like if you got the fight that you're ready to beat him now?
Well, I mean, you know, it's like styles make fights, man. I mean, I was going to fight Rashad Evans in February, and I've said on record, I think in the division, I think Rashad Evans is a tougher fight for me because of his ability to wrestle, and I've seen Rashad compete since 2000 when we were in college. For Jones, I mean, that's a tough hill to climb, man. There's no just beating John Jones. You know, I'd have to have my best performance, and knowing that I was fighting for the UFC title, I would train as though I need to have my best performance. So I just think that styles make fights, and him, and I match up well with him. You know, we haven't really seen him on his back for an extended period of time, but if I get on top of him, I think I can hold him down and get some offense off.
December 13th, 2014, UFC on Fox 13, Dos Santos versus Miocic, Phoenix, Arizona.
You know, I gotta say something to you here. You know, I've talked to you before. We've done interviews, Winnipeg, whatnot, and you don't seem to love doing media. And then I see you on Twitter, and you're like the most prolific tweeter out there. I mean, you're nonstop.
I'm like, was it Ricky Bobby?
So it's
like, what do I do with my hands? What do I do with these things? You know, I'm terrible at interviews.
So I'm wondering, are you the one actually tweeting? I'm actually going to go out there and call you out and wonder if you're the one tweeting.
Of course.
This is prolific stuff that you're doing. You're nonstop.
It's easy to write stuff. I just when I have a camera in my face, it's terrible. Like if you talk to my coaches, if I'm
Don't look at the camera. Just look right here.
You put me in the spot. No, man. No, yeah, man. I don't know. With cameras in my face, I have a hard time, and I'm like, you know, and I get real shy. I don't know what it is. I'm terrible at it. You should see me on the news. When I go on the news, I'm terrible. Like I'm like.
Do you want to get better?
I try. I'm trying. I've gotten better.
I feel like the Twitter has really brought out your personality, though. I mean, you've really come.
I'm trying. I have a good personality. I do.
It's unbelievable. That's what I'm saying. I want to see more of it on camera because there he is. That's the guy I'm talking about.
In a fight of the night performance, Dos Santos wins a very close decision. The loss snaps Miocic's 3-fight winning streak.
Obviously, you disagree with the decision. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you thought of the scoring, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, like Dana said, I slowed down a little bit, especially third, beginning of fourth. You know, I thought I needed more. And in the fourth, fifth rounds, you know, I mean, at least thought I won 2 of those rounds for sure. Make it somewhat decently close, but apparently not. Like you say, don't let it go to the judges. And you know what? He was a better man than that, and he got his hand raised, so nothing I can do about it.
January 3rd, 2015. UFC 182, Jones versus Cormier, Las Vegas, Nevada. Originally slated for UFC 178, but delayed due to injuries, the undefeated Daniel Cormier is set to face John Jones.
Do you dislike John Jones as a person? Like, does the sight and the thought of him, the idea of him beating you in a competition, giving you your first loss, does that kill you inside? Like, do you really dislike this person? Because that's the way this fight has been built. Bad blood, right? Mm-hmm. The brawl, all that stuff. But is that accurate?
My whole thing with John and I is this. When I pushed Patrick Cummins, I shoved him away from me. I didn't go high up on his shoulders or anything because, you know, I pushed him off. Like, get away from me. You know, first time I got close to him. With John Jones, it's like I pushed him here, and it was more malicious. It was the push was more malicious because of the ill will and the hard feelings I have towards him. And his response showed how he feels towards me. So it doesn't matter what he says. He could say, well, it's not that big a deal. I think it's petty. That's not true. That's not true. You don't go and fight in that way, in that situation, especially a guy that's so guarded, if you don't have real bad feelings towards someone. So yeah, I believe 100% he dislikes me. I dislike him, you know. But more than anything, the idea that he could beat me at something drives me insane. I do not want to let that happen. Not only because of the personal stuff, but competitively, I don't want to go and live my life knowing that he's better than me at this sport that we both are doing right now. Because when we look back on the careers, first thing we chose was wrestling. I was better. I made it to the top of that sport. I went as far as I could go without being an Olympic champion. He didn't, so I was better in that. And if he's better than me in MMA, I don't know if I could deal with that. You know, it'd be very, very difficult for me to rebuild from that.
Jon Jones retains his title by decision.
It's very difficult. You know, I've worked so hard to try and become a champion at the highest levels for a really long time, and you know, it hasn't really worked out for me. You know, this one's tough. You know, I truly believe that I can get the job done. I thought I could get the job done. And as we were fighting, you know, it still felt pretty good. And then, you know, I can't say enough about his mentality inside of that octagon. I've shared that cage with some very, very strong men and some very big men, heroes, superheroes, and I can't say enough about his grit and his determination, because I pushed him, you know, and I went after him, and I fought him, and he did a great job, but difficult. But you know, man, I've had to rebuild myself a number of times like people can't even imagine, and this is no different. This is not gonna ruin me, you know, one way or the other. I'm gonna stand across the cage from that man again, and I'll believe just as I did tonight, and I'll take the fight to him again, I guess.
Thank you for being so candid. And last, how do you feel?
May 10th, 2015, UFC Fight Night 65, Miocic vs. Hunt, Adelaide, Australia. Miocic headlines yet another UFC card, this time in South Australia against Mark Hunt. In what would be a historic night, Miocic lands a total of 361 strikes, the most of any fighter in UFC history. Miocic officially wins by TKO midway in the final round. May 2015, UFC 187, Daniel Cormier vs. Anthony Johnson, Las Vegas, Nevada. Originally booked as Jones vs. Johnson for the light heavyweight title, Jones was stripped of his championship after a hit-and-run incident in Albuquerque, New Mexico, less than a month out of the fight. Cormier, who was scheduled to face Ryan Bader at a separate event, was rebooked to face Anthony Johnson in the main event for the 205-pound title.
Yeah, I was here 5 months ago, man, and doing this dance, this same exact dance. It feels good.
Specifically, this is where the post-fight press conference happened.
Yes.
This is where you were on that dais, essentially crying in front of the world, your head down. Jon Jones was rubbing it in your face, and now here we are, back in the same place 5 months later. It's somewhat surreal, right?
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable that I've always said, man, if you put good energy out into the world, you do the right thing, good things happen for you, and that's exactly what happened to me. You know, I do things right, man. I train hard. I love my family. I love my fiance. I take care of my mom and dad. I love my teammates, and I put good energy out into the world. And good things have been happening for me because of that.
After getting dropped by Johnson in the opening round, Cormier is able to recover and defeats Johnson by submission in the third round.
If I would have stood in front of Anthony, this thing would be sitting on the opposite side of this press conference right now. He hit me so hard, and I was like, man, not only does this guy hit hard, he's very fast. So when he hit me, I fell, and I turned around, and behind me, I saw him coming chasing me. I was like, holy shit, he's coming after me. So I tried to grab him, but then he just started punching me again. And then eventually I was able to grab him and kind of get my head back about me. I wasn't like completely out, but I was like, I did get stunned. That's the first time I've ever been knocked down in practice, competition, anything. I fell, and the moment I rolled, because I'm kind of chubby, you know, so you roll when you fall. I looked behind me, and there was Anthony. He was like coming, and I was like, holy cow, he's right behind me.
I hope that's your game plan next time, bro. Please.
What?
to stand there.
Hell no, I ain't standing in front of you. Are you crazy?
I can't lie. He wrestled the hell out of me tonight. So I wasn't trying to take your limelight right now, bro.
He hit me one time and look at my face. He hit me on the side of the face one time. I was like, holy cow. He kicked me in the face a couple times too. It sucked.
Yeah, your head hurt my foot.
October 3rd, 2015. Cormier versus Gustafson. Houston, Texas. Despite coming off a first-round knockout at the hands of Anthony Johnson, Alexander Gustafson is booked to face Cormier for his first title defense.
Can you make the case that he's one of the more overrated fighters in the UFC because of the fact that people keep bringing up a loss as his greatest accomplishment?
You know, man, I honestly, if I'm being honest, I do. You know, I do think he's very dangerous. Like, make no mistake about it. I respect Gustafson for what he can do, but the stature in which he is held, it doesn't really equate to what he's done inside of the Octagon. That's just the truth. But I do respect him. But yeah, I think for what he's done, I haven't seen many people in UFC history held in such high regard for actually losing a fight.
In a fight of the year performance from both fighters, Cormier narrowly defeats Gustafson by decision.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty beat up actually. As you would expect, I kind of messed my foot up. I think my foot may be broken. He checked the kick and it's like very swollen and kind of all lumped up. But I feel pretty beat up. This is the worst that I've ever been beat. Gustafson's a stud, man. He's a good fighter. These are the ones that you dream about when you start doing this. And you don't dream about them as you want to be involved. You want to be involved and you want to win them. And I was tired in the 5th round, but I just kept punching and punching and punching and punching. I always take from my teammates, you know, and I watched Luke Rockhold beat Jacare as a baby in this sport, and he was exhausted and he just kept punching. And even though things weren't landing with power, he just kept working and he won a decision. I watched Kane get his belt back from Junior Dos Santos, and between rounds he thought he was gonna faint, but he kept punching and he kept punching and he kept punching and he got his belt back. So I take from my teammates, and you watch them perform at this level, and all you do is try to model yourself after them.
January 2nd, 2016, UFC 195, Lawler vs. Condit, Las Vegas, Nevada. Back on a win streak, Miocic is set to face former champion Andrei Arlovski in the pay-per-view co-main event.
This is sort of a dream matchup for you because of his striking. I feel like you guys are kind of cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, you know, dream. I don't know. Anyone thinks anything's dream getting punched in the face, but in general, no, yeah, I think it's gonna be a great matchup between both of us. But I think I'm, a better striker, and I think I'm faster, and I have, better cardio. So we'll see. You know, he's gonna bring his A game too. So.
Miocic quickly dispenses the Belarusian by knockout in under a minute of round 1. The knockout earns Stipe an extra $50,000 for performance of the night.
I know you can't go be a different person, but have you made any kind of a decision that you want to try to be more outspoken? Was this?
I guess, I don't know. I think I'm a funny guy. I mean, my friends think I'm funny. I don't know what to say. I'm a fireman. I like fighting. It's fun.
May 14th, 2016, UFC 198, Verdun vs. Miocic, Curitiba, Brazil. After 10 fights in the UFC, going 8-2 and on a 2-fight win streak, Miocic gets his shot at gold against the champion. Miocic wins in what MMAfighting.com voted knockout of the year. Miocic becomes UFC heavyweight champion at 2 minutes and 47 seconds into round 1.
I didn't believe I carried the weight. I was going to go out there and do my best job. Fabrice is a super tough guy. He's a champion for a reason. Actually tonight on ESPN for 30 for 30, they had Believeland. There was a documentary about how Cleveland sports, they won on championships. So I knew I had to put an end to it. I had to stop the curse for us. And, it went well for me tonight.
July 9th, 2016. UFC 200, Tate versus Nunes, Las Vegas, Nevada. Cormier is set to rematch Jon Jones as the main event for UFC 200. But on Wednesday night of Fight Week, the UFC scheduled a last-second press conference to announce that Jon Jones had been flagged by USADA for a potential doping violation and therefore pulled from the main event. Thursday evening, the UFC announces that Anderson Silva will be filling in and facing Cormier in a non-title light heavyweight matchup. Cormier defeats Silva by decision.
A lot of relief. You know, it was a very difficult week. It was very high when I got here, seeing my face on the side of the T-Mobile Arena, to the ultimate low of Wednesday when John was out of the fight, to starting to hear that Anderson may fight me, and then not really knowing until like Friday morning, but still trying to make weight. You know, my body wasn't really reacting as I wanted it to anymore with the stress of everything. So it was a long week. But right now I feel relieved, you know, because Anderson did this on 2 days' notice. The guy actually did it on 2 days, and he went out there and fought as hard as he could, you know. So all respect to him. But reality is, if it would have been catastrophic if I would have lost tonight, because I would still be the champion, but have lost to a guy that probably would have went down to middleweight and challenged for the belt. So I did what I needed to do.
September 10th, 2016, UFC 203, Miocic versus Overeem, Cleveland, Ohio. The UFC comes to Cleveland for the first time, and their hometown fighting hero, Stipe Miocic, is matched up against Alistair Overeem to defend his title for the first time. After getting dropped and surviving a submission attempt, Miocic recovers and defeats Overeem by knockout 4 minutes and 27 seconds into the first.
Thank God it's over. Yeah, he hit a lot harder than I thought. You know, he put me on my ass. But, you know, I thought I was okay. You know, he put me down. You know, for a split second, I was like, whoa. But then, you know, got me there for now. I got out of it. I felt fine, and then took over. Because people are crazy. That's why I live here. It's how we do it. We don't mess around. Wait till next week, and then I go tailgating in the Browns game. You're going to see a lot more fights. I'm not going to be in one of them, but, you know, we watch them. That's how we do it, man. You know, like I said, I'd rather fight Brazil, man, because I was just, you know, I got a little emotional in my head for a split second. You know, it was badass, you know, and then people were, you know, just trying to mentally keep them out. But it was, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life.
April 8th, 2017, UFC 210, Cormier versus Johnson 2, Buffalo, New York. Anthony Johnson is set to rematch champion Daniel Cormier for the UFC light heavyweight title at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York.
So you're with Rumble a lot. You have to do all this media. I mean, the second go-around here, as far as the fight is concerned, second go-around in the last 4 months. Are you getting tired of this man being around you?
It doesn't bother me. You know, during the media, we're together, but outside of that, we don't, I mean, obviously we don't see each other. Yeah. We don't hang out, so it's like short pockets of time.
It feels like you big brother him, though. I see some pictures, you're like, oh, I made him stand during this interview. You try to say, do you feel like you are getting in his head? He says no, but do you feel like you are?
I'm not trying to get in his head. He just knows. If there's a big brother, little brother situation, he knows. He recognizes it. Anthony Johnson knows. He knows who's the boss in this situation. I'll show him on Saturday. Look, Anthony Johnson's a tough guy. He's a guy that has a lot of punching power, a guy that's very fast. But I was watching the first fight again, and Anthony Johnson was ready for me to finish him in the second round. The time just ran out. He tried to roll over to his stomach, but I wouldn't let him. Watch it. When I cut him, he tried to roll to his belly and give me his back to choke him out, but I wouldn't let him. I cross-faced him back down, and I elbowed him some more. Time ran out. Third round, he did the same thing. Threw the punches, gave it one last shot to knock me out, and when he realized it wasn't happening, turned over, gave me his back, and let me choke him. He knows. He knows how this goes.
Cormier seems a little bit out of sorts, but he is about to step on the scale at officially 10:57. Here we go. Cormier weighs in at 206.2 pounds. Cormier weighs 206.2 pounds. That is not good enough for this to be a light heavyweight title fight. Cormier weighs in at 206.2 pounds. A distraught Daniel Cormier fails to make weight. Well, here comes Pearl Gonzalez, but everyone's still reeling. With 2 minutes to go, Daniel Cormier has weighed in at 206.2 pounds. He had to weigh in at 205
for this to be a light heavyweight title fight. And oh, by the way, there's 2 minutes to go and there is no sign of Rumble Johnson. I mean, you cannot script this stuff. A shocking turn of events here in Buffalo. Daniel Cormier weighs in at 206.2 pounds. The light heavyweight champion has officially missed weight. And now at 10:59, we are told that Rumble Johnson is in the building. The rule has always been you gotta make weight within the 2-hour window. And here we are. It is 10:59 and still no sign of Rumble Johnson. I mean, you cannot script this kind of drama. An unbelievable turn of events for Rumble Johnson, for the UFC, for Daniel Cormier, and Cormier is back now. And now Daniel Cormier is back. Wow. And now Daniel Cormier is back and made weight. How did that happen? Unbelievable. An unbelievable turn of events here in Buffalo. Daniel Cormier returned 2 minutes later and made weight. I don't believe this. I do not believe what I have just seen. Daniel Cormier has made weight. And now here's Rumble Johnson at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Here's Rumble Johnson weighing in, sweating. 203.8 for Rumble Johnson. You cannot script this. This is an unbelievable turn of events. Just when you thought you have seen it all here at the official weigh-ins, Daniel Cormier showed up weighing 206.2 pounds, missed weight, distraught, his head down, walks out, comes back 2 minutes later and makes weight. And then at the buzzer, literally at the buzzer, Daniel Cormier and Rumble Johnson have made weight. This is unbelievable. Shocking. Dizzying. How did this happen? And just like that, everyone has made weight.
DC defends his belt by defeating Anthony Johnson once again by rear naked choke, this time in the second round.
I trained for a submission. We trained for an improved version of Anthony Johnson, a guy that was going to be able to go longer, harder. We thought that eventually we could break him down, but it happened a little bit faster than I anticipated.
So did you see an improved version of him then, or did you see a version that was a lesser version than you saw the first time?
I don't know. It was a different fight. It was a completely different fight because the first time I was actually engaging in the wrestling, whereas this time he was the one kind of wrestling me, which was a big surprise. So even in the first round, we would have preferred not to take the head kick. But if you got a guy that's as big and explosive as Anthony and he is going to engage you on your terms, you kind of concede one round and hope that it's like a boxer with body punches. You're just investing in the later rounds. So he conceded the first round. And in the second round, when he did the same thing, I could feel he wasn't as strong. And eventually I felt I was going to get him.
This fight was a little bit different for you, I'm going to imagine, because of the drama with the weight cut and then the drama with John Jones and all the stuff that was going on with that. How did you kind of work through that, especially today, leading up to the fight?
Just trying to be professional. This is what I do for a living. I got to eliminate those distractions. Something happens in the moment, it happens in the moment. I didn't necessarily want to see Jones before the fight. I had kind of put it in my mind that I was going to try not to see him. But when I go to hug Luke, he was sitting right next to him. So I ended up seeing him, which was kind of odd. But
None of this stuff affects me, man. When I'm in the octagon, I have to pay attention to what's going on in front of me. That was Anthony Johnson. We have seen time and time again what happens to you when you make a mistake against Anthony. And I just did not make that one costly mistake. The head kick hurt, but I didn't make the ultimate mistake to get the fight finished.
May 13th, 2017, UFC 211, Miocic versus Dos Santos 2, Dallas, Texas. The champion Miocic is set to even the score with the challenger, Junior Dos Santos, as the main event in Dallas, Texas at UFC 211.
Here's the other thing I have to talk to you about. The last time we spoke, we made a little bit of news. You were unhappy. I never heard you like this before, right? You said...
You want to come in, you make me feel like I'm like this hormonal...
No, but
right
you...
You tell me
there's
like
a lot of emotion.
You tell me 1 minute here, you're the most obnoxious person of all time, then you were mad about this. I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Listen, you're somewhat stoic, so anytime you give us an inch, it's a big deal.
You take it like 30 miles.
Well, it's a big deal. You're the baddest man on the planet, right?
Yeah.
You were unhappy. You said that they mistook your kind. How do you feel now? How are things?
I'm fighting, aren't I?
Yeah.
All right, we're good.
But are you under duress a little bit? Like, do you want to clear up things afterwards?
It's all good. We're good. On the next fight.
Now we're back to one-word answers.
Miocic wins by first-round knockout.
I've worked my ass off to get where I'm at. You know, if it wasn't for my coaches, my wife, my family, my teammates, my friends, just everyone backing me up, my city, having my back, I wouldn't be where I'm at. You know, it's a Midwest thing. You know how it is.
Everyone has been talking all night about, your second title defense. Third is the record. I know, the heavyweight division has been so tough to maintain this title. But does that matter to you? I mean, does making history matter to you? Is that something that's important? Can you, is that something, your place in history, is that important to you?
No, I really don't care. I mean, if I keep winning, I'll break history. Big deal. I'm just going to keep winning. I like winning. It's fun. I like being called champ, especially.
July 29th, 2017, UFC 214, Cormier versus Jones 2, Anaheim, California. The light heavyweight champ is set to defend his belt against the former champion, Jon Jones.
What I saw in Jon Jones was he's a confident man, but he's putting on a little bit more than people will ever recognize until they're 2 inches from his face like I saw. He may be confident, but in those eyes, I see more doubt than I've ever seen. And I believe there are a number of reasons for that.
Do you truly believe that when he fought you the first time he was on steroids?
I do.
You do?
I do.
100%. Is it a look thing, a physical thing, a feeling? What makes you feel that?
So physically there were some differences, but also logically there were differences. Medically, there were differences. There were a lot of reasons as to why it point to him doing stuff like that. I mean, I've explained it time and time again, Ariel, a guy that will do cocaine a month before the biggest fight of his career at the time, nuts. Even when he got caught with Rumble Johnson, there's a meme out there. It says the Jon Jones starter pack. It's a Magnum condom, some fucking Cheetos, a weed pipe, and like a Coca-Cola Classic, right? This was 3 weeks before he fought Rumble. He even had openly admitted that he was driving home and he was a little bit hungover. So if you're going to do things to sabotage yourself, why wouldn't he do things to enhance himself?
That's just all for show.
Look at
you
this
can
guy's
show your
face.
six-pack.
Who looks like a junkie
You
here
can just
today?
show your six-pack. That's fine. That's all
Who
for
looks
show.
like a junkie here today?
I look like a...
You look like a crackhead with a suit on.
Was that?
You look like a crackhead with a suit on.
I could look like a crackhead with a suit on, but I've never been a crackhead like you, though. So you can say I look like one, but I've never been one. I've never been one.
Next question.
Jones would knock out Cormier in the third round, but Jones would fail his drug test and the result would be changed to a no contest. Cormier remains champion. January 20th, 2018, UFC 220, Miocic versus Ngannou, Boston, Massachusetts. Miocic is set to defend his title against Francis Ngannou in the main event in Boston, Massachusetts. Also on this card, Daniel Cormier is set to defend his light heavyweight title against Volkan Ozdemir.
I appreciate each and every one of you coming out here.
We all know what happened to me last fight. I've got to build myself back up, and I'm going to make a statement on Saturday night. Volkan Ozdemir may be a good guy. He may be a good fighter. But I know one thing that Vol can't do, and that's beat Daniel Cormier. Saturday night, I get my hand raised again, and I go back into the winner's circle. Thank you, Boston. Thank you for having us. I appreciate you.
After a wild first round, Miocic dominates Ngannou with his wrestling and superior cardio and cruises to a unanimous decision.
Can you kind of reveal to us how much did it mean to you, or were you sincere in that the record doesn't really mean that much to you?
Well, now it means something to me. You know, I beat the guy, that everyone that I couldn't beat. So it made it that much sweeter. This guy's a phenom. He's 1 in a million, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? He lost. He lost to a Midwest boy that's 40 pounds lighter than him. And I'm the greatest heavyweight. I defended it 3 times. No one's ever done that.
Right.
You truly believe that you're the greatest of all time?
Fuck yeah, I do. No one's ever defended it 3 times. I've done it. I had a killer's row of fighters to get to it. I had a hard path to get to the title, and then I had a hard path to defend the title. I had top dudes, I had to fight Arlovsky, and I had to fight Verdum in Brazil on 45,000 people. I mean, crazy. Next guy, Overeem, killer, K1 champ, hits like a ton of bricks. Next guy, JDS, who I lost to. Now I got a guy that's a phenom. Nothing's ever easy. I know fighting ain't easy, but I never had an easy road. Everything was hard.
After withstanding an early onslaught, Cormier would defeat Ozdemir by a TKO in the second round.
Do you appreciate this a little more after what happened a couple of months ago?
I do. I've always appreciated it. I appreciate it every year. Like when I was 30 and 31 years old, maybe not so much. But as I start to get closer and closer to the end, I do appreciate it. And I appreciate it from trying to build back from a loss and trying to feel like I had some success in the job that I do. I love to fight. I love to compete. And I was able to get a win tonight. That last time I was in a hospital, right? When the press conference was going on, I was at the hospital. So if not for anything else, to be able to look at my mom and not see tears in her eyes, and look at my wife and not see a look of confusion, or wake up on Sunday morning and hear my son, who came to the fight for the first time, the whole Jones thing, it sucked. I lost the fight and I got beat. I got my ass kicked. And I cried in the Octagon. I cried before I went to bed. But you know what I cried the most was when Sunday morning I'm laying on the couch and my kids are in bed with their mom, and my boy rolls over and he taps his mom, because every time he'd never go to the fights, he wanted to know if his dad won. And you know what I heard at 7:30 in the morning in Anaheim? He tapped his mom and he goes, "Mom, did Dad win?" And she said, "No, Pop, he didn't win this time." And I was laying there, I could hear him. So I got my back to him and I'm crying. And not long after, I feel like my boy behind me hugging me, That was the hurtful thing. So for him to get to experience the other side of it is big for me. And my daughter and my family. It's all family to me. So I appreciate this, but I appreciate them being able to smile tonight instead of shedding tears.
July 7, 2018, UFC 226, Miocic versus Cormier, Las Vegas, Nevada. Daniel Cormier will be moving back to heavyweight to challenge Stipe Miocic for his title as the main event for UFC 226 at the T-Mobile Arena.
The heavyweights, they don't move like us. They can't go as hard as me. I haven't lost a wrestling match at heavyweight. I haven't lost a fight at heavyweight. I haven't lost a round at heavyweight. And Stipe Miocic is the guy that's supposed to do it. Great guy, firefighter, hero. Get his ass kicked on Saturday. I'm the new champion, Daniel Cormier.
Man, this dude's a good champion. He is. And I love Francis Ngannou. I think he's a great guy. But if I spent 22 minutes on top of him, I would have gotten 4 or 5 submissions and found a way to get some TKO stoppages. he's fought some tough guys, but Fabricio Verdum, I don't know what he was doing. He decided to run. He ran right into Stipe's fist. Stipe might have still won that fight. Alistair Overeem, I don't know what he was doing. He hurt him and then he thought he tapped. Third match with Dos Santos, I think Cain Velasquez may have turned Junior into a zombie. He's a walking zombie nowadays. I love the guy, but he is. And Francis Ngannou can't wrestle. So this will be the first time he's fighting somebody that can do everything. Oh, my wrestling shoes. Yeah, hey, my guy Jacob Casper, he gave me wrestling shoes because, you know, Jake's a good training partner that I've gotten. Two-time All-American heavyweight from Duke University. He came and he's trained with me these last 2 fights, and he's been a godsend, man. He's one of the strongest people that I've ever grabbed, and he got me custom wrestling shoes made. They say Cormier, UFC 226. On the opposite side, it says "and new," with a picture of me in the Octagon. And on this side is the championship belt, and it says reigning, defending, and the undisputed champion. So it takes a smart guy, and Jake's a smart guy. He went to Duke. He went and made these special for me. I wanted to share them with you guys today. That's why I wore them. So hey, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys all for coming out. As always, get ready for Saturday because I get to make history. All right? Later, guys.
Your expiration date is coming up in this sport. Why in the world, if things go well, would you go back down to 205? Like, what is there for you to do?
I'm honestly like really selfish, and I don't want to give up one of the belts. So it's like going to be a fight between Dana and I, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, either I fight at 205 or, I mean, I've already got a challenge in the back. Derek Lewis told me that he was going to knock me out right before we walked out of here. So I mean, Derek Lewis may knock out Francis and then knock me out afterwards. I don't know. I know they got guys that are lined up to fight me. He's been sizing me up since I got back there and called me small. He's like, well, you're a lot smaller than everybody up here. That's rude, Derek. He said it. Like, wow, you're a lot smaller than everybody else.
What?
That's crazy. You are.
Derek, what's your issue with Daniel?
I want to know too.
He disrespected Popeye's chicken on a commercial a few years ago.
Daniel Cormier defeats Stipe Miocic by knockout, 4 minutes and 33 seconds into round 1.
In a lot of your fights, you push forward and you press, but you were kind of moving back up against the cage. Were you trying to bait him into the clinch to, like you explained earlier, that combination that you and Rosento had been working on?
Yeah, I was trying to get him to come forward because if you watch early, he was kind of tentative too because he expected me to come forward. Right. But then when he found some success, he started to press me. I got in the clinch, he threw me on the ground, I got up, he kind of held on me. I'm like, okay, use your energy to hold me. And then once I realized like the punches are hard but nothing crazy, then I started to go more into him. And that's when I'm at my best. And most guys wilt, and you know, Stipe's a great guy and I like him, but there's one habit that he has. Every time he gets out of the clinch, he leaves his hands low. Guys just don't put him in the clinch enough. So to Stipe Miocic, as a friend, man, work on that clinch position because it's going to come into play again.
You say there's no other 205ers out there that are standing out to you to be next. And Volkov was here. He weighed in, so obviously he's thought of as a high contender.
Won't fight him.
Okay. And
not a big enough fight.
Lewis got a win. Wasn't the prettiest win, but...
Not a big enough fight.
So it's Lesnar, and that's it?
It's going to be Lesnar or a guy like Miocic, Jones, big fights.
I think I was winning the fight. You know, I took him down one time for a little bit. You know, I was holding against the cage. You know, hit with some good shots, and I was hitting with some good shots. You know, I was going back and forth, but I felt I was backing him up a lot more. And then, you know, caught with a good right hand, or whatever it was, elbow, I think it was. I don't know, something. He's caught with right hand, whatever it was. It's a good shot. What are you gonna do? It's part of the game. Heavyweights, like I say all the time.
This tonight, right? For everyone that said you're a fake champion, you're not a real champion. Can't question this one, right? You may question that light heavyweight title. You can question it to the grave. But I have something completely separate from him, and I'm very grateful for it because everything was tied to that guy. No matter how much I beat everybody up, it was always, well, you lost to Jones. Now, in this heavyweight division, a division that I never got to compete in and complete my journey in, I went and I completed it and became the champ. So I'm a champion. I am one of the greatest fighters of all time. And you're right, I love DJ and I love GSP. And it's gonna be one of the three of us. Hey guys, thank you. Can you believe this shit? It's amazing, right? It's fucking crazy. Let's get some photos. Get over here. I want my pictures to live forever like Connor's did.
November 3rd, 2018, UFC 230, Cormier versus Lewis. New York, New York. Daniel Cormier is set to defend his heavyweight title against Derek Lewis.
I mean, I fought everybody at every turn. I fought Rumble, Jones, and Gustafson all in 1 year, right? Then I fought Anderson Silva on 2 days. And then I fought Rumble again after he had just put the share out in 15 seconds. And Volkan Ozdemir looked like he was the man. I fought him, even though there was so much to lose and not much to gain. And then when Jones came from suspension, what did I do? I fought him. And then they said, fight Stipe Miocic. I said, okay. It's like I never turn away fights. I fight everybody. And right now, the idea that Derek Lewis is undeserving is so unfair to him. Because in July, he beat the #1 contender. In September or October, he beat the #3 contender. If you're #2 and you beat 1 and you beat 3, what does that normally make you? The #1 contender for the title. He belongs here. So I know what's in front of me. I am very aware of what's in front of me. Don't think that Derek Lewis is some ignorant guy. This is a guy that went to jail as a youth. And honestly, when you go to prison as a kid, especially a young black kid, a lot of people give up on you. And in that cell, you tell yourself a lot of things. You say, I'm going to do better when I get out. I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. And the vast majority of them, of the guys that do say those things, they never change. They go back and do the same thing. Derek Lewis didn't, right? Derek Lewis became a millionaire. Derek Lewis is fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. There's something different about him. And that's why I know what's in front of me this weekend. So let him try to trick you guys, but pay very close attention to who he really is. He's a smart guy, and he ain't tricking me.
There are levels to this game. I am the highest level. I am the A standard. I am what mixed martial arts is made of. Derek Lewis has a puncher's chance to beat me on Saturday night. If you have a puncher's chance to beat Daniel Cormier, then you have no chance at all. Thank you guys.
Official weight 264.5 for the Black Beast. And his opponent, the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC heavyweight champ of the world, Daniel Cormier. Official weight 251 for the champion. Give us your thoughts on what tomorrow night means to you.
I'm gonna bang his ass up.
Good luck to you, sir.
I will be the first guy to win 2 titles at the same time and defend both of those championships. Hey, Derek Lewis has been impressive to this point, but there's a different level to fighting when you stand across the octagon from the greatest fighter of all time. I'm the champ, I'm the GOAT, I'm Daniel Cormier. Come watch me tomorrow.
Daniel Cormier, ladies and gentlemen.
Daniel Cormier successfully defends his title and finishes Lewis by rear naked choke midway through round 2.
I hurt myself this morning bad. And look, sometimes I go into the octagon and I hear it in the buildup, like, when is this guy going to get old? You know, it could happen overnight. I thought it happened this morning. I sneezed and I slipped my back out, guys. I was hurting bad. Like, seriously, we got some pictures that we may release later in the week, but like I sneezed, and because I sneezed, my back slipped out, and I went to try to do my morning run, and it wasn't happening. I went back in the UFC. You know, they have the Performance Institute. They travel with us now. So Heather Linden and Clint Wattenberg, they came over with the massage table, with the stem machine, with all kinds of stuff to try to help me release my back. And then at around 1 o'clock, it was to the point that I was still kind of singed over and leaning, that Bob Cook was all, if you don't get better, then we're going to have to make a decision on whether or not you're going to fight. So it was real close. I said, just let me take a nap. I said, if you let me take a nap, I'll see if I feel better. And I woke up and went for a walk. And when I went for a walk and got active, my back started to release a little bit. It was very scary because I really had no idea how we were going to explain that one. Like, I mean, I was like, I don't know how we're going to explain this. Like that, I sneezed and hurt my back. That's getting old. That's what that is. First takedown, I got him with that inside trip. Second one was a single leg, ran the pipe. Third one was I shelved his leg up and threw him down. And the last one, I actually got a front headlock to an ankle pick, which is something you don't generally get in fights, but he had kind of gotten lost. You know, we like to say lost in the sauce. You know, you give them so many things that they can't keep up. Because in fighting, a lot of guys have good baseline defense. So you just keep throwing things at them until something sticks at the wall. Keep throwing at the wall, something will stick. That ankle pick knocked him back, and he kind of looked like, again, I'm on my back again, you know. And then Coach Leandro said, KC control. It's a system that we've worked for a long time, checkmat. And when he did it, I covered the legs, and he turned back to his knees and just presented his neck. I mean, he's the first guy, though, that when I've got him in half guard, I start to punch him, and he turns to his knees, and I catch the inside wrist. I love to do that. That's like my favorite position, grabbing the inside wrist and just starting to let go with the other hand. He still got up. That's how strong this dude was. And I was holding his wrist, and he still got to his feet. It was crazy. I thought about just like letting him go and trying to kick him in the head, but the danger in that was that I might have to stand up with him again. So like, I'd rather just grab his leg.
DC, you mentioned you and Brock obviously communicate and text each other. Have you gotten a text from him after this fight?
I don't know. I haven't checked my phone. You know, winning fights is great, but like going through your messages afterwards is the worst. It literally takes hours because everybody seems to text you, and then they get mad at you like, hey man, I called you. I'm like, of course you did. Everybody did. It's like, how am I supposed to answer the phone for every single person? Why didn't you text me back? I'm like, and initially I didn't take that scene thing off of my phone, so they would look at when I saw their messages. Thank God for Danny Rubenstein. He told me how to take it off. Like, they would see scene, and I'd be like, I know you saw it. I'm like, no, I didn't. They're like, dude, screen grab. Like, you saw my text, and I'm just like, I dead silent. Because if you answer, then it starts a conversation. Now you've got hundreds of people trying to have a conversation with you. It's impossible. So I haven't checked it yet. But if there is a text from Brock, I'll probably respond to him and tell him to kick his ass.
I asked Jones about this yesterday at the press conference, and he doesn't seem too keen on giving you a shot at 205 or heavyweight.
Giving me a shot.
Those are the words that he used.
I mean, seriously, giving me a shot. Here's the deal. When it comes to Jones, it's hard for me to really take anything seriously, because you say, I don't want to give you a shot, and you don't deserve it. I beat you. He said he knocked me out, which he did. And you guys know I've always said he won the fight. And he once put like a video up of a little girl kicking a girl in the head. I said, look, man, she set that kick up perfect. But you who are on steroids, dog, you can't use that. It's the same thing. Like, I'm sure USADA said whatever, you know, but you still had steroids in your system. It does not matter. You can't be on steroids in no way, shape, or form. That's not fair. So for him to say, I don't think he deserves a title shot, or I'm not going to grant him, who are you to grant me anything? I'm the guy that's been here this whole time. 3 years I've been the light heavyweight champion because this dude can't stay out of trouble. That dude actually got in so much shit that they just said, here, DC, you can have the belt back last year after he knocked me out. Like, seriously. How crazy must the guy that won be for them to go, hey, man, you can just have this back? Seriously. Because we know with you, shit's safe. You know, that shit's safe in San Jose. With you, it's safe. But with this dude, like, we don't know what he gonna do. So they just gave it back. I mean, seriously, think about it. Him and Alexander, right? Listen to the difference. Listen to the difference. Him and Alexander are fighting for what belt? This one. Or what's it called? Interim? No. What's it called? Vacant. Right? So why wouldn't Volkan and I have fought for the vacant light heavyweight title? Right? Guy got stripped. Just like I'm getting stripped. Why wouldn't I have fought for a vacant title? Because they know with me it's safe. And I'm not sure if he wins in December and then gets in trouble again, they don't go, hey, TC, you want this thing back? I mean, seriously. It's crazy.
August 17th, 2019. UFC 241, Cormier versus Miocic 2. Anaheim, California. Daniel Cormier will attempt to defend his heavyweight title in a rematch against the person he took it from, Stipe Miocic.
Mr. Cormier, they say that no two fights are the same. Obviously, you're looking for the same result second time around. How's this one going to be different when you face Stipe second time around?
You know, when I was getting ready to fight with Lesnar and Stipe was just kind of like putting up those random pictures of him punching me, I just was like, well, you know, obviously I got the last punch, or like 5 or 6, but I understand that he's gonna be better, but I just, when I think about the fight and the little bit of time that we fought before, it's just, I just don't think he's good enough to beat me. I mean, I just don't. You know, I think he's a good champion. I think he's a good fighter. I just don't think he's good enough to beat me. And whether it's 25 minutes or 2 rounds, I'm still gonna win the fight.
Question for Stipe, obviously, after that. Could we get a response to that? And also, what are you going to do differently to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself?
I don't know. I mean, you just said it right there. I'm not good enough. I'm a good fighter, but not to his level. We'll definitely see August 17th. Trust me, lots changed. Got my mind right. I'm walking out with the belt wrapped around my waist, no question.